Hello, something guys and gals. This is Something Guy 912. I wanted to refrain from talking about this individual in the situation, Miss Anita Sarkeesian, so to say, as I don't really believe that Anita actually believes any of the tenets of third wave feminism and is only merely a vessel or product of feminist ideas in of itself. But I have to make an argument for why I think that, in the same vein that I made the argument that Onision is disingenuous when it comes to any talking points. Anita Sarkeesian is a con artist scammer. Not just of feigned video game credibility, not just of shoddy, questionable ethics in regards to where her GoFundMe or Patreon donations went to, but most importantly, on the ideas of feminism. While I would not initially be bothered that some sham is making a mockery of third wave feminism, not that it would be hard to do so anyway, but doing that with over $400,000 locked away to supposedly supply Anita with an endless amount of red highlights for her hair, remember, conforming to gender norms is sexism, is just so rife with absolute contempt for holding on to her feminist beliefs, is that it too beggars belief that she is trying to get away with this for the second time in a row with her whole ordinary women daring to defy history project. So what I'm going to do is play her most recent, or relatively most recent video in her heavily delayed, backtracked, and quietly killed off Tropes Vs Women project in regards to body diversity to illustrate the point that Anita is so shameless in her hypocrisy that her even identifying as a feminist is contradictory in of itself. Let's dig into this little mess, shall we? Even before she's spoken a word, she has taken something out of context. Japanese dub English is extremely shoddy at best, and shape, in their terms, actually means form or combat in our terms. If you ever played video games, oh wait, surprise, surprise, you don't, Anita. There's the infamous, all your base are belong to us, or a winner is you, both horribly dubbed text dialogues in the pixel era, just like with this one. Why would a combatant express outwardly their literal body as a means of complaint when they are meant to be proving their worth as a fighter, Anita?
At their annual BlizzCon event in 2014, the wildly successful game studio Blizzard Entertainment showed off a new game they had in the works called Overwatch. And from that first reveal, it was clear the appeal of Overwatch resided in its cast of characters, a diverse assortment of heroes, each with unique traits and abilities. The roster revealed at BlizzCon included men and women, sentient robots, and super intelligent gorillas. However, for all the apparent variety and diversity in the heroes Blizzard showed off at the game's debut, there wasn't much diversity to be seen in the body types represented by the female heroes.
And this matters why exactly? Is the game's merit really to be held by the standard of how many fat bitches you have compared to twinks?
The male characters introduced that day included the towering knight Reinhardt, the sturdy engineer Torbjorn, the agile archer Hanzo, and the hulking simian scientist Winston, among others.
Okay, Winston is not a human male. Winston is a fucking monkey. Also, Torbjorn is a dwarf, technically. That too doesn't count. Also, you picked Hanzo as one body type, but conveniently left out the fact that Reaper, Soldier 76, McCree, Genji, and Junkrat all have the same body types. That doesn't sound like body diversity to me, now does it? The street goes both ways, Anita.
The 5 female characters introduced consisted of the slender adventurer Tracer, the slender healer Mercy, the slender support character Symmetra, the slender sniper Widowmaker, and the slender but well-armored security chief Pharah.
Because slender is the only attribute that you can grasp from these female characters, huh? Also, nice job conveniently forgetting about D.Va, Mei, and Zarya, who have different body types compared to the other 5 women. But I know you'll bring them up again later in this video because you're so good at refuting yourself. Also, to put a counter on the left here, so what? So what if these female characters are slender? I'm playing the fucking game. I don't have time to be ogling at their wonderful form. That's what Rule 34 is there for. I know you probably think that I'm being a hypocrite pointing out the lack of body diversity in the male leads, but I'm getting at your level, Anita. I'm not some cynic with a magnifying glass pointing out all the smears in Michelangelo's David. You are. If you're going to make a criticism about a game, you better make sure it's tonally consistent on all fronts, regardless of gender.
Overwatch was hardly alone in having all of its female characters share a similar physique. In Ultra Street Fighter IV, characters such as Dalsum, Hakan, E. Honda, Rufus, and Vega represent a significant range of male body types. Looking at the roster of female characters, however, while some may be a bit taller than others or have slightly larger thighs, not one of them represents a notable departure from the slender body type that has been established as the standard of conventional female attractiveness.
The same standard of which you are a part of, Anita. If you're so against these gender norms and roles, stop with that fucking red highlight, stop brushing and braiding your hair, stop with the makeup, the blush, the eyeliner, and the lipstick, stop dressing yourself appropriately if you really believe that gender norms devalue a woman somehow. But I know you won't, Anita, because, once again, you're only here to push feminist ideas so that feminists in future who know nothing about video games but want to criticize them will use your template as a means to push some ideologically motivated and intellectually dishonest rhetoric about gaming media. Also, why would a female fighter be fat to begin with? Do you expect Trigglypuff to come into the ring to kick Vega's ass without any proper dieting or training? The answer is no. And the reason that the males have different forms is that characters like E. Honda are meant to display a sumo wrestler, someone who has to make their form large to win in a match. The other characters are also caricatures of said fatness. A fat man is jovial and silly, while a fat man is unfortunately not so jovial and silly. I mean, that's my personal taste. That is everyone's perception of said obesity. Don't tell me that if a fat woman were to appear in some media that you'd complain that it makes her look silly, will you?
Similarly, when we look at the champions on offer in the hugely popular MOBA League of Legends, we see the designers employing a wonderful range of body shapes and proportions across dozens of male characters.
Which, once again, are not human males, Anita. A fish and a fucking crocodile are obviously not going to have the same body type. You disingenuous cherry picker. Also, I can't believe you have to make me do research of my own on a game that I hate, but here is a list of all the human male characters that share a similar body type. Darius, Draven, Ezreal, Garen, Graves, Jarvan IV, Jace, Jhin, Lee Sin, Lucian, Malzahar, Olaf, Pantheon, Shaco, Shen, Swain, Talon, Taric, Turndamir, Twisted Fate, Vladimir, Xingzhou, Yasuo, and Zillion. That's 24 characters you glossed over because it doesn't fit your narrative.
But when we look at the female heroes, there's nothing approaching the diversity we see on the male side of the roster.
Oh, really now? Out of 150 plus heroes to choose from, you pick 5 to make your ill-fated point about a lack of body diversity in this game. Let's look at the list again, shall we? And since you made the bastard decision to include animal bodies as some kind of body diversity, I'm going to include all the female heroes that don't conform to the cultural standard of beauty, as well as animal or otherwise. Annie, Diana, Elioi, she'll bring her up later however, Jinx, Callista, Kaylee, Kindred, Lysandra, Lulu, Orianna, Poppy, Quinn, Riven, Sejuani, Shyvana, Soraka, Talia, and Tristana. 18 doesn't compare to 24, but it's still a hefty number of heroes that don't conform to either the perfect hip-to-waist ratio or an armor that bodes fat material, so to speak. Not to mention, the biggest percentage of heroes in League of Legends don't even have a gender at all, from homunculi like Zac or Urgot to just a rock golem like Nautilus or Malphite. I can't believe I have to be looking this shit up for you, Anita, and I'm doing this for free! Give a feminist $400,000 and she'll show you how to lie straight to your face about video games that have been double and triple checked straight from the horse's mouth.
There are a few noteworthy variations from the standard. Illaoi is somewhat more muscular than many of the female characters. Jinx has smaller breasts, and there's the cute gnome-like Tristana. But the overwhelming majority of female characters make it clear that a slender figure with prominent breasts is viewed as the standard for female character design.
Alright, now tell me why that's the standard, because I can tell you why. Big breasts and a nice hip-to-waist ratio are signs of health and fertility. Being a fat, double chin with varicose veins breathing down my neck like Jabba the Hutt is not the standard of female beauty because all of those attributes are signs of an unhealthy lifestyle and poor dieting. While I'm not going to demand that these ladies stoop down to that cultural beauty standard, they should at least understand why many men and women conform to that beauty standard, and that reason is that others will see them as fit and healthy and making their outlook as pleasant as possible. Men have a beauty standard too, as you should have seen from both Overwatch and LoL. Extremely muscular, 0.1% body fat, usually ripped to the very core, and have personalities the equivalent to Superman, bold, brave, and daring. But it's positive male reinforcement when men are sexualized, right? And it's negative female gender norms the other way, right?
Likewise, in Dota 2, male heroes can be handsome or comical, outlandish or grotesque, while female heroes are mostly relegated to being standard humanoid characters with conventionally attractive facial features. Where are all the female rock creatures, skeletal priests, and whatever this thing is?
Commence the memeing! But, to be frank, where is the evidence that this is somehow the case? I'm not even going to bother to look up a list of all the Dota 2 heroes, but I already know you are full of shit, Anita, just like you were and always have been to this day. I want to see every female hero compared with each other to see if you're actually right in your proposition. And even if you are right, straight out of the gate, so what? What is your point? My perception of women does not go down because I see some sexy girls. My perception of women goes down when people like you try to make perpetual victimhood not only a normal behavior in women, but also a fucking career choice.
This isn't just an issue in fighting games, MOBAs, and other titles that give players a range of characters to choose from. Female characters across the board are often limited to that same specific body type.
I should kill you.
Ah, yes, Anita. Arkham City, because that's not a low-hanging fruit if I've ever seen one. Here's the dead horse of Dead or Alive, Extreme Beach Volleyball. Let's keep being that horse to crank out some more low blows on the video game industry.
Doing all right there?
Oh no! Women dressing as whores? Whoever thought that a job involving sexually objectifying oneself would involve actually being sexually attractive and getting paid for it too, no less?
Stay away from her! Sure you want to let him go?
Ah, there's the dead horse.
It's as if male characters are free to embody whatever physique best communicates their personality or abilities, but when it comes to the designs of female characters, that kind of imagination and creativity often doesn't seem to exist. Rather than seeing such an exciting range of female characters, we mostly get the same body type over and over again, one designed to be sexually appealing to the presumed straight male player.
I got my bingo card out of Anita's cliche talking points and weasel words. We can mark down presumed straight male conveniently next to cultural beauty standard. Now all we need is our value of human beings and reinforces, and I'll get a fucking bingo.
This reliance on the same body type for so many female characters isn't just boring, it's harmful. It links our value as human beings within the culture to our desirability to men, and it reinforces our culturally influenced ideas about who gets to be considered desirable and who doesn't.
Ding ding ding! Now, getting back on point. Anita, you do realize that people don't play video games to get a better interpretation of cultural or societal norms, right? People play games as a means of escapism, to escape into a fantasy world where they can be a super badass pirate or some warrior with dragon blood infused within them, allowing them ultimate powers that they can use to their discretion. That's one reason why a fat, frumpy Tumblrite isn't frequent in video games. Reality and fantasy is boring, as you would say it. That's why the Call of Duty games are failing. So much money thrown in the hole to add as much realism as they can. It doesn't count for shit because people already experience reality through reality. They don't need more reality in the time they spend trying to escape reality. Also, cultures don't decide what people find attractive. People decide what people find attractive, and the culture abides to what people find attractive currently. What Crocs are seen as ugly could be considered attractive into the very near future. And that stems from people's desires rapidly changing course throughout a matter of circumstances beyond any ideologue's control. That is particularly why there is so much push for body positivity in the wake of this millennia. People are going out and expressing what they find attractive, except in their effort to do so, they try to fuck over other people's desirability to cater to their subjective interpretation of attractiveness. Attractiveness is in some ways subjective, but its objective values come from pure biological standpoints.
The problem is exacerbated by the fact that when we do see representations of women with different body types, they're often presented as a joke, as in Fat Princess.
See, what did I tell you? You can't fucking win with feminists. You put a fat woman in a game, it's demeaning to her character. You don't put a fat woman in a game, it pushes this idea that fat women are less desirable somehow. Also, Anita, didn't you say that men are free to express themselves through their bodies? How do you know that this fat princess is expressing herself through her body? Are you fat-shaming fat women? Misogynists!
The majority of women who populate these game worlds are designed from the same narrow template. The problem isn't just what we're seeing in games, it's what we're not seeing. The fact that fat women and women with different body shapes aren't featured in these worlds reinforces the false notion that these women are less valuable and less worthy of recognition than those women whose bodies come closer to matching the cultural beauty standard.
Anita, to you, that's the case, but you have not demonstrated that everyone else devalues a woman once she gets fat. See, there's this thing called intellectual attractiveness and emotional attractiveness that a lot of feminists conveniently ignore when they demonstrate such lacking of both attributes. I don't find Lara Croft attractive or valuable merely because she has big tits and a nice behind. I find Lara Croft valuable and attractive because she is a British explorer who kicks ass with dual Berettas and is daring to go around the world in the most dangerous of areas. Also, some women do, in fact, derive value based on attractiveness, and yes, as a result, once those looks fade, they lose that value. But notice how I said some and not all. You always presume that everyone thinks the same way you do, Anita, and that's what we like to call a projection. You need to stop valuing women based on their looks. Not us!
We also don't see the same range of ages commonly represented as we do with male characters.
So fucking what? Is it really going to get at your hindsides that Lara Croft isn't digging into an ancient Mesopotamian tomb at the spry age of 83? Does it keep you awake at night, knowing that your great-grandma isn't playing Major League Football with the young, dumb, and full of cum jocks at the university? No, it fucking doesn't, Anita. No one gives a shit whether an old or young person is in a game, especially you. Once again, you sell these bullshit ideas on the ideology of feminism, but have no care in the world to actually abide by the verbal scripture you clam with your fucking dentures.
It's not unheard of to see male soldiers, fighters, and heroes who appear to be in their 40s, 50s, and even older.
Because age comes wisdom, Anita. Don't you think that these male heroes haven't seen some horrifying shit in their young age? Is their entirely livelihood and value stem from how many fucking wrinkles and white hairs they have on their head? Is that the hill you want to die on, Anita? Because I'd rather die trying to protect all the juicy round butts in my sexist, misogynist video game that many female gamers enjoy because they too have been internalized that misogyny into their heads like you said.
Playable female characters, on the other hand, are almost always young, and it's for the same reason that so many of them have the same body type. They're intended to be sexually appealing to straight male players.
Wow, Anita, you don't say! Next you're going to be telling me the sky is blue, or grass is green, or that you don't actually need another $250,000 to fund another YouTube video project because you already have $400,000 behind your back as you sneer having pocketed the hopefully hard-earned money of many a feminist. Well, it will be a fucking red letter day when you admit that last part.
The result is that we have plenty of representations of male characters who communicate that men can continue to be active, vital, and powerful over the course of their lives.
Because I'm sure you would be totally okay with an old woman having gone through similar tribulations that I'm sure these two protagonists have dealt with, right? Or do you actually want to marry Sue who gets all the medals without any of the work? Because I got one for you. She's in Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Lap it up, you dog.
Meanwhile, the absence of older playable female characters wrongly suggests that women's value is tied directly to their beauty and youth, and that when they're older, that value is all used up.
Art imitates life, the life of which many women do, in fact, derive value based on attractiveness, a choice that they make with their own free agency and are aware of the consequences. The only people who aren't aware are egotistical, self-serving narcissists who think that nothing short of time can touch all the beauty marks on them. Yet, Anita is aware of this trend, but seems to figure that it's the patriarchy's fault that women freely choose to pursue this life goal, or that it's the patriarchy's fault that women have to suffer any consequences for any choices they make. Women are so timid and pure white to Anita that you simultaneously have to give them the life of luxury while also keeping them in a bubble.
There aren't many good examples of prominent positive representations of women with different body types in major contemporary games.
As it should stay, because games aren't meant to be diverse-ridden or ideologically driven. Even your feminist cronies at Digra figured out that people actually don't give a shit how special a snowflake is in a game as long as the game is fun to play.
In Life is Strange, there's the minor character Alyssa, a classmate of Max, the protagonist.
I didn't know you were a sci-fi geek like us. What's your favorite?
Oh yeah, Life is Strange, the most pretentious hipster douche artsy-fartsy nonsense of a non-game that I've seen, and to no surprise, Anita hails it as the reigning champ on a steaming pile of walking simulators with drowned-out, sappy, melodramatic dialogue while the Lumineers strum their banjo strings made out of cardboard and their own tears. Sure, Elisa is not conforming to a gender norm, but does that actually make Life is Strange fun to play? No, it fucking doesn't!
In Assassin's Creed Syndicate, there's Agnes McBean, owner of the train which becomes the hero's base of operations.
Then may I present to you Agnes and Bertha, lady and locomotive.
And AC Syndicate, a game of which pandered to the feminist cry-bullying by adding a transgender person in a game set in a time when amputation was the only means to remove the horrible sickness that was the flu. Yeah, it wasn't like they put Agnes in there to push a agenda or something, right? No. Totally creatively driven by feminists.
And in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Kreia is a great example of a capable, powerful, older female character.
I am Kreia, and I am your rescuer, as you are mine.
Ugh, Anita, you really fucking suck at selling video games. Is the Old Republic an RPG? A good RPG? Is the lore deep? Can I play multiple roles? Are the quests interesting? Is there dynamics to the gameplay? Nope. None of those concern me. Let's put specific interest in how many pixels were dedicated to gray hairs rather than blonde hairs.
Let's go back to Overwatch for a moment. Since that initial reveal, a few female heroes have been added to the roster. There's Mei and Zarya, both of whom have body types that are notably different from those of the originally announced female characters.
I have heard rumors that Mei and Zarya were included merely to set up the feminist body diversity quota. Don't quote me on it, and I don't even know if this is factual or not. But regardless, Mei and Zarya are still not fat by your definition. Zarya is extremely well-toned because she exhibits the Russian female bodybuilder stereotype, and Mei is probably curvy at best, considering that she's wearing heavy and padded winter gear because her main function is to blast enemies with ice. But of course, what am I thinking? Talking about gameplay in a video game? No, the body type of a character is the measure I roll how much of a game I'm going to like.
And more recently, Blizzard announced the game's next hero, Anna, who's both an older woman and a woman of color.
Of which you conveniently left out when describing Farah, who is ironically the daughter of Anna. Also, I must stress again, so what? Wow, I could be helping my team pick out who's got their ultimates ready, or set up a stratagem to get a team wipe on them, but I'm just so goddamn focused on how Anna is blind, black, and old. 50 points on the impression scale, Alex!
Game developers need to continue actively working towards creating the same range and diversity of female body representations that we see among male characters.
No, we do not, Anita. The last thing I want game developers to be concerned about is how they envision a fat, lesbian, non-binary black albino with one leg as the best means to be put into a combat zone. I want the developers to make a good game by balancing the character's abilities, updating and solidifying the hit scan markers, fixing queue times, make more servers available, and making the game fucking fun to play. All this time spent on diversifying fucking pixels on a screen will lead into drop sales and a target market disenfranchised of not only creativity, but of fun. Feminists are the ultimate killjoys when it comes to media in general. Everything you like is somehow oppressive to me, and now I'm going to change everything you love into everything you hate without having a care in the world about said medium I'm changing.
The resulting range of representations can not only make games themselves more interesting, it can encourage us to see all women as the desirable, valuable, autonomous, fully human individuals that we are.
Once again, Anita, no one is discerning value of people for my fucking video game. No one gives a shit how much crammed depression stacks you put into a character. If your game is boring, vapid, nonsensical, or otherwise pointless, no one is going to touch it just because your character happens to be fat and frumpy. Also, Anita, if you really want to try to push this idea that people don't discern value from looks, then I ask you once again, Anita, why are you conforming to the gender norm? At least the feminists who hate these gender norms actually don't conform to them, as much as that also makes them extremely undesirable from an outside and inside perspective. But you don't commit yourself to the talking points you make because, as I said before, you are merely putting the cart before the horse of other ragtag feminists to dog on video games. And that is all from the talking feminist head that is Anita Sarkeesian. And perhaps my last video, as her lack of withholding her beliefs could almost rival that of Onision's.